Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Guys, this is my first ever Summerween video. Stop it now. Where have I been? Summerween is a thing and I'm only really kind of getting to grips with it in 2024. Shame on me. I am using in today's video a mold I recently purchased from Amazon that came with some closed backed bezels. Say that with your mouth full. It is a mold filled with lots of cavities and there are matching bezels so you can create your jewellery and then stick them in the bezels. Now, my initial plan was to use some of these inlays. If you were with me last Halloween, I made a ton of silicone inlays using molds I already have and they came out amazing. And I store them in like a flat envelope, like a stiff flat envelope, and I figured these would be perfect for these cabochons. Technically, aren't they cabochons type kind of? Yeah, the cavities. And yeah, that's the plan. That is the plan. So in today's video I am using the Let's Resin. This is the 2-part epoxy resin and all details will be linked below, including the mold that comes with the bezels. And yeah, let's just get going. Okay, so initially, like I said, I was planning on using those silicone inlays that I made last year. But as the video progressed, I kind of soon learned that not all of those inlays are going to fit into this cavity mold. Some of the cavities just aren't big enough or my inlays are just too big. So I'll be honest, guys, it turned into a Halloween, Summerween stroke steampunk. I had to just make do with what I had at the time. So here you see me filling up some of the cavities, and it was also at this point, the ones I'm pointing to in the middle, those big chunky ones, they don't have a corresponding bezel. Not all of the cavities in this mold has a corresponding bezel, which was such a shame. And a few of you have messaged me as well and said that you've got this set and they don't always fit into the bezels, and I was like, oh no, like what have I done? But we'll see how it goes. I've just poured some of the resin into some of the cavities. I didn't want to do it all at once. The other thing to mention is I did remove my gloves here. I don't advocate people using resin without gloves, but the gloves were hindering my ability to use the tweezers properly, and so I removed my gloves and I just ensured that my skin did not come into contact with the epoxy resin. I only came into contact with the tweezers. It was just easier for me to actually physically hold the tweezers and get this job done. Now, at this point, I'm just trying to work out what silicone inlays fit into what cavity, and these little ones, it just was nothing I had nothing. So I decided to use them anyway and pour resin into some, even though I knew I didn't have a bezel for them. So this is 24 hours later. You guys would have seen me do this multiple times on my channel, make my own silicone inlays, use them in resin, and then back them. And honestly, I cannot express how much fun this is to do. It's probably up there with my chuck it all in technique, one of my favorite things, because the results are just so stunning. Now, this is where I did get a little bit steampunk, because for the round ones, it was the majority of my circular clocks and compasses and, you know, what do you call them? Oh my gosh, why is my brain mush? Anyway, you know what I mean. The round things with the nodules. the word is gone, guys, it's gone. But you know what the word is. We'll have it by the end of the video, so it's all good. Here I am just peeling them back. Again, this is 24 hours later. The indentations are all beautiful. I can see some air pockets there, which is such a shame. But hey, this is inlays in resin. It's not always going to be perfect. That shape, what is that called? Why? Listen, do I have to pause the voiceover and go to Google it? Maybe I should. Cogs and gears. I don't genuinely believe those words would have come to me today, guys. So I had to Google. I'm glad I did. Otherwise, it would have just been bugging me. Yeah, cogs and gears. That's the word. So this one here is a giant pumpkin. And I already kind of felt like The silicone inlay itself was too big for the cavity that I placed it in, but I was still rolling with it. I used a combination of chameleon powders. I used some from Let's Resin and some from the Tiny Turner that Wendy from Toonfish Crafts has been sending me lately. Stunning, super intense. But this plum one, now if you were with me last Halloween and the Halloween before, the plum chameleon powder from Let's Resin is the most Halloween kind of gothic vibey colour there is. I hands down my favourite for Halloween creations, especially the cling film technique or anything like that. It is just the most perfect witchy Halloween colour. Am I coming across here, Claire? Oh my god, sorry guys, repeating myself. Yeah, I cannot get enough of it. And I did multiple videos last year and the year before using the plum. Like, I'm actually shocked I've still got any. But of course, chameleon and mica goes a long way. Now, as for the rest, you'll know, I did pour resin into the rest, missing out a few. And I decided to fill the entire silicone mold. So whatever we get from this silicone mold, you can still use them. You can still use them as earrings or rings if you've got the right kind of bezel for them. Sadly, I don't today. Some of them I just poured resin in and dusted the surface of the resin before backing. Some of them have got no resin in whatsoever, and I'm dusting the actual silicone mold with the chameleon powder. And guys, the difference is insane. Like, they are two completely different results. Now, again, I'm backing this in the same resin, Let's Resin, and I'm using the Black Vista pigment. Standard stuff, guys. You would have seen me do this a million times. Just backing these in black. Now, backing in black makes chameleon powders pop. Yeah, I'm just I'm just telling you on the screen, I immediately overpoured and I was very aware of it. What happened was there's debris on the mold, and you really need to clear that debris off before you fill the molds up. Because what happens is if there's any drips of cured resin near the edge, it's going to draw out whatever you pour in the back. So just don't be like me and do that first, and then it will be a lot neater, she says, as she continued to make a mess. Back to the chameleon powders. So ages ago, Wendy from Toonfish Crafts did a video where she tested the comparisons between a black background and a white background, and I think she did other colours as well. And there was a clear winner when it came to making your chameleon powders or even your mica powders, I think. Like, super pop and really, really bring those colours to life. So since that day, I took Wendy's video as gospel, and I have been using black to back all of my chameleons. I am going quite slowly here because I'm trying as much as I can to be neat. It doesn't come naturally to me, guys. It's not a natural ability for me to be neat with things like this. But yeah, I am just gonna speed it a little bit up for you because you don't need to sit through all of this. Basically, fill all the cavities, go easy, don't go too crazy, and have the resin pouring everywhere. And yeah, job's a good one. I also did end up swapping out to a lollipop stick because the cup was just way too big. I should have put it in a much smaller vessel for the smaller cavities. And here we go, speeding it up because there's absolutely no way I could do this quick in real life. But if only I just carried on until I was happy. Okay, 24 hours later and it is time to demold. I'm not going to demold each and every one of these and show you each and every one of these on camera. I'm just showing you how easy it is to demold them, and they're quite deep cavities as well, which really gives you the freedom to put quite a chunky silicone inlay in. And I will then gather them all together, group them all together, and I will show you more individually. But straight away, this bat one is absolutely gorgeous. I love the way this one has come out. Bit of debris on the side, and I could already tell that these are all going to need a bit of a sand around the edges, but how gorgeous is it? The poison bottle, I'll be honest, it's a bit dark for me. If I'd have used a much lighter chameleon, I think we would have seen that bottle a lot more clearly. Or two different colours, like a different colour for the bottle and then a different colour for the outside edge. This one here is up there as one of my favourites. And the irony that some of my favourites aren't with the inlays, if I'm honest. But these are the ones that I just poured resin in, but then I didn't have an inlay to fit them. So when the resin cured, like this one here, when the resin cured, I just dusted the backs with chameleon and then filled the backs with black. The difference between the two is unreal. So here is one that I dusted the mold. So the one on the left, I dusted the mold. The one on the right was filled with resin and I dusted the resin. So they are so different. The results are so different and the effect is so different. And if I'm honest, I think filling with resin and then dusting, for me, gives a far superior result on the chameleon powder. Again, two completely different results. But this one here, like I said, it's just the irony that some of these are my favourites. They stand out to me. And again, ironic because it hasn't got an inlay. It's not that Halloweeny. It's not that summer-weeny. But yeah, anyway, I'll carry on taking these out and then we'll take a closer look. Okay, the heart. This is a little stunner. I adore this. Sadly, there is no bezel that matches it. We have got a couple of air bubbles here, which is such a shame, but hey, I mean, how stunning has this inlay turned out? And the colours, oh my goodness me. Again, much more steampunk than Halloween. I will give you that. I'm very aware, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I think I've said it, but I'm definitely becoming a green person. This one here is the kind of clock stroke. Yeah, it is a clock. I'm pretty sure it's like a watch silicone inlay. One massive bubble that really right in the center, but it's all good. It's all good. We have to allow ourselves bubbles. This one here blew me away. Like, this is the intense chameleon powder from the Tiny Turner, the Inferno. I love this color, but the cog, look at me, I remembered the word. The silicone inlay was so deep and chunky, it gave the most incredible result in that deep spherical mold. And whilst I love these, I love the ones with the silicone inlays, I absolutely adore all the others as well. So it was a really tough choice to choose a favourite. But then do I have to choose a favourite? Probably not. This one I wasn't really feeling. This is the one where I put just a cauldron inlay. It just doesn't come across like that. I can see it's a cauldron. I know it's a cauldron because I put it in there. Equally, I don't think the result is a wow. This one, gorgeous, stunning, love it. This was a inlay made from one of the Finnabair molds. The moth, I think it's called the moth and butterfly mold. I'm not 100%. Or moth and skull, something like that. Stunning inlay. It gives a stunning result. Equally, there's no bezel for that one. This is the biggest cavity from the silicone mold and I'm not feeling it again. I'm just not. I put this giant pumpkin inlay in there and it just got squished. It kind of got lost. It takes over. And I think this pumpkin inlay, the detail is absolutely stunning and it really needs to be the main character of the show, you know, and it really isn't in there. It's crushed. It's kind of like crushed in there. But here they are all in their sets. So the first lot, we've got the ones where I used the silicone inlays and some of them came out wow, some of them came out with air bubbles. This one here, the cog, I mean, the detail is unreal in that one. Again, the poor pumpkin got crushed. Loving the moth, loving the green heart. I just wish I had a bezel that matches it. Now, these are also up there as my favourites. They are so simple in design. It is unreal. You don't need anything for these apart from a mould and chameleon. That's all they are. So, you know, 3/4 of the way filled with resin and then chameleon and then backed in black, and they are stunning. These here is just a collection of the ones I really wanted to fill up the mold. I didn't want to just kind of like do half of it, but dusting the mold directly as well gives a beautiful result. But I feel like when you do it this way, when you fill the mold up with resin and do it that way, it just shows off the chameleon powder a bit more. There's definitely a bit more colour shift than anything, honestly. Now, I was very aware that these would need a bit of a job, a bit of a sanding around the edge, because a lot of them did kind of go over. And what you don't really want to do is dome these too crazily. You don't want to dome them too much because they really do need to fit into a flat pendant afterwards. This one here was so disappointing. It's tiny. This is the only heart bezel that fits that sized heart cabochon, but then there's a gap around the whole heart. So honestly, I feel like a bit more care and attention could have been put into this kit, but then what do you want? It's cheap. It was cheap from Amazon. So yeah, some of them fit straight away, perfect. This one here, my favorite. Some of them went straight in, no issues whatsoever. But what I did do, you can do this wet as well. Wet would probably be easier. I just used some sandpaper, really fine grit. It's like 1,000 or 1,200 grit, just to go around all of the edges of all of my pieces until they fit nice and snug, which they did. This one here really did not take much at all for it to go in there. And obsessed. I'm so in love. I absolutely love doing this kind of thing, guys. I love inlays. I love the results you get. It's just, yeah. I mixed up a tiny amount, but obviously way too much. I mixed up a tiny amount of fast set epoxy resin. Now, here's the thing. At this point, you can use super glue. You can use 5-minute epoxy. You can use anything that's going to be strong. Like things like PVA or Mod Podge wouldn't work. They're very plasticky and they'd probably just fall straight out. Now, I'm not saying that super glue or 5-minute epoxy are going to be better or worse than epoxy. I just don't have those things. So I just mixed up a little bit of fast cure epoxy just to get them in there. And then I came back a few hours later when the sun was shining to have a look and see how they got on. You don't want to put too much in. You don't want the resin to seep out of the edges either. And I'll be honest, I was just sad. I was kind of, well, not, it's like first world, isn't it, guys? I wish that there were bezels to fit every cavity in this mold. That would make more sense to me. But they really were selective on which cavities got a bezel. Do you know what I mean? Especially that big chunky green heart. I would have loved for that to have gone in a bezel, but I'm sure you can buy them separately anyway, and I will probably keep an eye out and see what's available out there. But this one here, I was so excited about this. I was nervous, but also excited. I decided to try it with some of the Green Nature Chameleon from the Tiny Turner, mixing some of this in with some epoxy resin to lay it down as not only a glue base for the green heart, but also to fill the gap around it. I wasn't sure how it would work, but I knew that I couldn't just stick the heart in there because there was like an embarrassing gap. It's like when your shoes don't fit and you got a big gap at the back. It just would have looked wrong. So I decided to add some of the chameleon powder in, and I figured all that way, like, the bezel itself has got the gold in the kind of same gold that the chameleon has got, and we're just gonna play by ear and just basically see if it works and see how it comes out. So this is what we're looking like, and I know once I put the heart in, that's gonna push that resin right up and out. So I was nervous it was gonna leak out, but what I did then was just use my micro brush to just fill it up a bit more and hope and pray that it's going to be okay and it's not just going to pour out of all of those edges. And it didn't. It was so neat and I was so happy. I'm so sorry if you just heard George go crazy. The dog next door barked and I had to quickly pause on the voiceover. But anyway, here are some close-ups. This is my ultimate favourite. This is the Plum Chameleon from Let's Resin, the most perfect Halloween colour you could ever hope for. And I will genuinely be wearing this necklace today. It is stunning. As for the bats, honestly, the direct sun really makes these guys. I wish I could fit more in there, but the bats work so beautifully, and they were the smallest inlays that I made from last year. They honestly worked perfectly. And again, I didn't have an issue fitting these items into the bezel. Once I sanded around the edges, they all fit really, really well. I wish I didn't get that giant air bubble in the middle there, but it is, it's okay. This one is up there as one of my favorites. I filled all around the gap, around the edge with excess resin and the green, and it is stunning. Almost gives it an outline or a border and looks completely different to the heart. This one here, wish I did it in another colour. I just feel like you can see the poison bottle, but it's not as visible as I would have liked it to be. Now, in direct sunlight, the cauldron looks pretty cool. The glistening, that glisten, that sparkle is just stunning. Guys, I've really loved this, and I'm not gonna lie, don't come for me, but it's made me really excited for Halloween. I know, Claire, will you stop wishing time away? I know, guys, but listen, Summerween is now officially gonna be a thing on my channel, and I mean Summerween in June and then Christmas in July. Come on, what a way to break the year up. That is so much fun. I cannot wait. I might even squeeze another one in, but we're rolling into July now, so I might just, start Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed. I thank you so much. If you've been here in the live chat with me, I massively appreciate you, and to everyone else, I appreciate you for watching as well. Do not forget to hit that thumbs up if you have enjoyed this, because that really helps me. That helps YouTube know that you like this kind of content, and it will push my videos out. But thank you so much, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.